that the Trump administration has often had, say for example of the Obama administration or even the Biden administration, was that there was too much of all of that stuff, and so they claim that they right-sized the China strategy, which was a direct critique of the Obama years. And in a sense, there's bipartisan agreement in the United States, I'm not saying that's right, but there is, that we needed a different approach to China.
Look, I think that there's a lot to critique in any presidential administration. But I think that there's also a lot to learn from any presidential administration about what works and what doesn't work. You know, for example, I recently saw an analysis of peace agreements, which ones actually stick and how you get to them. And, you know, obviously in the 90s, there was the Good Friday Agreement in Northern Ireland, there was the Dayton Agreement in the Balkans. And so I know how much effort went into actually getting those agreements made. And in the case of Northern Ireland and in the case of the Balkans, what it took to demilitarize, decommission the weapons of the combatants, all of that, that is the boring, hard work of actually achieving diplomatic success. And I think there's a lot to be said for the kind of dramatic and bold action that we see from this president, but that standing alone is not sufficient. It may be necessary to get the world's attention, get the party's attention, get something done in the immediate effort to show progress, but then you've got to do all of that hard work. So it's not either or. You know, when I think about the kinds of diplomacy that I saw, you know, in the 90s, that I saw when I was in the Senate, that I was part of in the Obama administration, there are a lot of tools in the toolkit. And among those tools are soft power development, which we have unfortunately decided is not going to be a prominent tool in how we try to, you know, influence people, persuade them. China's filling that gap, particularly in Africa. So it's you know, to me, you don't get into office and say everything that was ever done going back to the founding of the country was wrong and we're going to, you know, do it differently. You say, hey, I've got a different style, I've got some different ideas, I'm going to learn from the past, I'm going to apply what works, and then we're going to go from there. That just makes sense to me, and I worry that we are, you know, shutting a lot of doors, cutting off a lot of our allies, and not learning some of those lessons right now.
So I'm going to come back to Trump and